What is the one thing that you're most proud of being a citizen of your country? I'm going to start. If I have to pick one thing that I'm proud of being a citizen of Nepal, my country, is we've always been a free country. We've never been occupied by anyone, no British, no Americans, no any other country. So we are free from our birth, from our start. They tried, they could not. So yeah, that's what I'm proud of.
If I have to pick out one thing, then it's going to be hard. But if at all I'm really proud of something about my country, it's how there are different cultures within every 100 kilometers and how all of these cultures can function. I mean, they can just coexist well within one boundary, and that's just what I'm proud of. What comes to your mind when you hear of Nepal, India? What comes to my mind when I hear of Nepal?
Yeah, go.
The thing that comes to my mind when I hear of Nepal is the beautiful mountains, the beautiful places to visit, Pokhara's nightlife, the great food, and I obviously love the Muktinath. I've been there before, and yes, I love Nepal. That's that.
The thing that comes to my mind when I think about India is obviously Indian films, some Indian literature, some poems, poetry, food, and it's good how different part of India is completely different. Like South India is completely different from North India, and every other state they've like completely different. Punjab is very different from Maharashtra and all that stuff. So yeah, the diversity and the people. What is one interesting fact you know about the fellow country? Okay, one interesting fact that I read recently about fellow country India is the big media houses in India do not have a full-time reporters in major cities in Washington, Beijing, or even in the neighboring countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal, and which is really shocking because they have to have a proper source of information from their own reporters who believe they stay there full-time to report a proper issue so that it's not biased, it comes from the main source. And being a big media house with a lot of money, a lot of this and that, a lot of jazz in TRPs and stuff, it was a shocking find for me. So yeah, that's an interesting fact.
What is one interesting fact for me that I know about your country is that you're a population of a tiny country of a population of 30 million people or some such, but you have 601 MPs. But in India, we have about 1.2 billion people. We have 537 MPs. That's like, you guys are paying more to your politicians than us. That's an interesting fact. Are you aware about the current border dispute between India and Nepal? Yes, I am. I am very well aware of the current border dispute between India and Nepal. And obviously, for better information, unlike most of us have no information about it and are talking about it on all our social media handles and such, but I took some time off the past few days to actually do some research about it. And turns out that Nepal's case in this is they talk about this treaty called the Treaty of Sugauli that was formed in 1816. But as an Indian, what I've been taught or what I've been read or what I've been made to believe is that Treaty of Sugauli was signed in 1816. But later, much later, around 1857, British started their trade unions again, and they actually took a part of the Mahakali River to begin their trade. And Nepal did not really have a problem then because you were really run by monarchs. And up until 1990, though, Nepal did not even have a problem with it. And Atal Bihari Vajpayee goes on to make a statement while after having met one of your prime ministers, then he says that Nepal and India should resolve the border disputes of 1990 and move forward and come together to get another trade agreement. And this was spoken around the time of 2005, but it could not happen because obviously Vajpayee's government fell down much later. But also, with the new border dispute, what I wonder as an Indian is if Nepal did not really have a problem, and even in 1960, if I remember, India had an issue with China, and monarchs then in Nepal gave India a permission to station our military in the Lipu Lekh area of what we're arguing about, the argued area that we're speaking about today. And ever since then, India has had activities going on in that area. And that's what we've been taught or known or seen in the news, that India has stationed an army there, and India has activities ongoing there. And Nepal did not have any issue with it because your monarchs granted as a permission to station our military there, which was also acting as safety to the borders of both Nepal, India against China. But over time, the things changed, and it's pretty surprising to me that Nepal did not even think about adding this other part, the triangular part of the map, up until 3 weeks ago. They did not care about this part until India started to build the link road. But that is what I think is an Indian, and that is what I have understood from my research. It's fair enough to think, I mean, that's what I understand.
Yes, I'm aware. I have been aware about border dispute. I just want to share my timeline with you, okay, about dispute and why it's not just about that. It started in 2019, I think, when India released a map with parts of that land, our land, saying it belongs to them. And then again, recently, when they inaugurated a road, which is supposed to be a road for Hindu pilgrims to go to Mansarovar, without consulting our country, without consulting our foreign ministry or our Ministry of Internal Affairs or our Prime Minister or whatever, which is wrong. And according to Sugauli Treaty, back in the days, that land in that treaty belongs to us because it has been divided by Mahakali River. So what the treaty says is the bigger part of the river is the river. So what the Indian government says is the smaller tributaries that was flowing on the side of the river belongs to the river. And I think up until 1860s or something, all the maps that was released by India, that part belonged to Nepal, and its history is and after 1860s, somehow they changed the map because they thought that land was important for them to trade with China. So they distorted the history, and that's the conflict we have been having from ages ago.
Do you think the media of your country is doing their job properly to keep the citizens informed? How? Okay. My question to this would be a no. I don't think the media of my country is doing their job properly to keep the citizens informed. And my answer would be no for any other country too, because media is basically split into two on all parts of the world today. It's either the right or the left. You're either giving the news for one political party and you're just saying news against the other. So that's just what media is doing. Likewise in India too. And in India, the problem is there could be a lot of media houses, because there are so many different states. There are 28 different states. There could be 100 different media houses giving you 100 different kinds of news in each state, and there's just lack of information. And I just think that, yeah, there is lack of information, and I just think that the fourth pillar, as we know it, is dead. At least in India, it's non-existent.
So I think we agree, on our answers on this question, because my answer would be no as well. Because, like I said, to inform someone, a citizen, properly by a media house, they should not be biased. And media house in India and media house in Nepal, they're biased, one. Second, they don't have a proper information because they talk to the other people who are, again, biased. So they bring these people who do not have a proper neutral information on what needs to be said and done. So yeah, I don't think they're doing their job well. They're trying, but they're not succeeding at it to inform us. So yeah, true. Is the media from your fellow country spreading misinformation to create hatred towards your country and citizens? How? Okay. So this is how news news is being displayed, or the trend that's going on in India, for example. So they have a report and issue, right? And then they play the issue with this background noise, like ding, 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 dang, dang, all that kind of stuff. So are we watching a movie, or are we watching news? I don't want to see any background noise. I don't want to see drastic, sound effects to see the news. It's they're creating conflict from the get-go, from the very start, because it's bias. So, and they are bashing, Nepalese people. They're bashing Nepalese politicians. They're bashing Nepalese artists, which they want to create hatred. They're like they've been doing with other countries, I guess, which is wrong and which needs to be spoken about. So yes, they're creating hatred, and it's wrong for them to do.
Yeah, I think I'd agree on it. That's what has caused all the ruckus. Then media is the main hand playing to create all the chaos. So I think I've just got to agree on it. There's no other way to look at it. Has your perspective changed towards the fellow country citizens? No, absolutely not. It hasn't, and it won't actually, because I fully understand that when two governments are in a fight, they're usually the ideologies that are into a fight, and it's not the citizens of those countries. So I don't agree with it, and no, my perspective towards these citizens haven't changed.
Yeah, same with me as well, because I love Indian people, and perspective towards the citizen has not changed. Perspective towards their political leaders has not changed. They've been not good and not kind to us, to Nepal, and yeah, that hasn't changed either. But yeah, with the citizens, it remains the same. Still like them, and it's good. Has the border dispute affected your friendship with your friends or friend of the other country? I have a very close friend who belongs to other country, India, and I have also been in a relationship with my friend from India, and but we separated, but it was not due to the border dispute. And we still have a good relationship. We dispute on our terms, especially I disagree with what her country has done and keeps on doing. But our relationship as a friend, as a good friend, as a close friend, has not changed, and I don't think it will ever change unless something personal conflict happens between us.
Has the border dispute affected your friendship with your friends of other country? Absolutely not. I'd like to bring this to notice that I've made more Nepalese friends than I've made more Indian friends in this country, and I have some of my best friends in this country who are Nepalese, so that will never change it. And yeah, I'm really proud that I've made some friends from that country and I've gotten to know them like I've gotten to know them. Do you think the general public of your country is more informed than some leaders of your country? Well, I'd say it's debatable. When I have to talk about a country like India, it's pretty debatable. Information is not a privileged access in India. There is a lack of access to information, and I'm not sure that my countrymen are more informed than its leaders. If they were, then we wouldn't be having some of our leaders that we do today.
Yes, some general public of our country are more informed than our leaders. The problem with that is they might not have a correct information. They might not have right information. So that's one problem. The second problem is the other good side of this issue is a lot of people in Nepal, especially in these times, they are digging up some history. They're digging up some issues related to whatever the conflict that is happening right now, which was never ever mentioned, never ever brought up to government's issue by their leaders. This is because they've got good information. They've learned, they've researched, and yes, our general public, some of them are very well informed, but they need to channelize that somehow so that it reaches our leaders, so that they also would be aware and informed for the benefit of our country. How do you think the government of Nepal reacted in this situation? Okay, great. I think the government of Nepal made a very risky and bold move, which was very commendable and respectable, by releasing a map with the disputed land as part of their own land that belongs to Nepal, which has always been there according to the treaties from long time ago. To deal with a border issue or border conflict, it's always a tough decision. It's always a tough task for a politician, because they might trigger someone, they might make their neighbors unhappy, they might create conflict among people or among nations. So the current leaders, the reaction they have done, I think, was very positive and was very balanced in a way. I know our fellow country was not happy with it, but that's conflict. That's okay. We need to talk and solve about it. But yeah, they have done a pretty bold move, and it's very hard. And I commend their move. And this had to be done a really long time ago. but it has happened now. It's a change, and I love it.
How do I think your government reacted to this situation? Well, as an Indian, I think that anywhere in the world, when there's a communist government running, there are border issues are bound to rise, and they're bound to come over in time. And especially like China, with a power-hungry country like China that is being great friends of your prime minister. Obviously, to India, it all looks like China is trying to play it on us, because right now they're trying to create a scene with us in the Ladakh region. They have tied up with Pakistan in the Kashmir region, and now suddenly we have a Nepal issue. However, how are we supposed to look at it, like just an Indian citizen, is that obviously China has got to play a big role in it, especially when Nepalese, especially when leaders like the Prime Minister of our fellow country goes on to say things like, Indian COVID is worse than Chinese COVID. So I don't think that is a sensible government reaction at the time of a conflict. So if Nepal, like it seeked a resolve by sitting on the table, obviously I agree that our Indian government did not do the right thing. They did not just do the right thing by not discussing with you guys and just going straight out into inaugurating the link road. I don't agree with that part. But I don't even agree with Nepal trying to outplay the situation during the time of a conflict. How do you think the Indian government of India reacted in this situation? Well, I'm not too proud of how my government reacted in this situation. I just think that my government is trying to act really territorial over time. It might be the tensions around POK, it might be the tensions about around Jammu and Kashmir region, but I just don't think that owing to our ties with Nepal from the longest time, I just don't think that we have to use these techniques that we brutally use against our enemies with Nepal. They're our friends, and I think Indian government should really consider sitting down and discussing it with Nepal than just letting this escalate and losing out on a really good friend to China.
Indian government didn't react pretty well, so I agree with your situation, because I won't say pretty well, because we're talking about a country and nations with billions of people. They reacted in a very immature way, which is shameful. Back in 2017, when China tried to build a road through parts of Bhutan and parts of India, Indian government was pissed. They sent their army out there. There was a big conflict there was a military dispute in that land, and China backed off, which was a bold move from India, which China didn't expect that move. Like they wanted more parts of India, but they didn't allow that to happen, which is great. So that's more mature decision that they took back then. Now, I don't know why. I think they've got more issues to deal with in India, and this is not a major issue for them, which is not for us, because we're a small country, and issues like this, which challenges our sovereignty, it's a big issue for us. So we are very serious, but Indian government is not serious. They haven't dealt it in a mature way, and yeah, so which is not how I expect them to be. How should the government have handled this issue? Okay, this is very, very tough to say, especially from us, citizens sitting here and, telling the big powerhouses to do what they need to do. But one thing that, both the media and both the government has been missing, which I would like to suggest, it's just a suggestion, an opinion from me, is to solve a border issue like this, right? We always say, okay, we'll talk, table talk, there'll be dialogues. It has happened in the past, even with China and India, with Nepal and India, but, there's no fruitful result. So what we need to do, my opinion, is they need to form a committee, a different committee. Let's say Nepal India Border Solving Committee or Border Dispute Committee, right? With independent people from Nepal, technical people, map readers, historians, scholars, some leaders, and let them come to a conclusion and see what happens, okay? So if we cannot solve from that, then we need to go to international tribunal, and we can present our proof. So we have a lot of proof, that we think are pretty strong. You guys have a lot of proof that you think pretty strong. So just present that proof, and let's see who wins. Let's see who is right in this case. So yeah, so we need to form a different committee, and then that committee needs to act, because I don't trust my leaders 100%. From my fellow country, and I'm not happy with my leaders as well for them to solve. I don't trust them to solve this. So they should find the other way, which I suggested before, as an opinion.
Well, I agree with you when you tell me that there must be a committee to do this because we can't trust either side of our leaders. Fair enough. But I think governments have to resolve certain issues at certain points of times in societies. Like, as a government, if I'd be a government of any particular country, at this point, I wouldn't be worrying about the border issue at all. The border dispute, it shouldn't be the issue that we're supposed to be discussing at this point in time in the world. That's what I think, that government should come together, both Nepalese and Indian government, they should just come together to just prioritize what's important and put forth them their history and just understand what they want to do out of it. Committee, yes, fair enough, but I just don't think that they should escalate more so. What role can the people like us play in current situation? For friends like me and you, I'd like to say that stop sharing shitty videos that you have no background check for. First things first. Second one is, believe nothing. No matter where you heard it, where you read it, whoever said it, don't believe it. That's all. Just do your research, and even if it's a statement that you're actually saying it to somebody else, be sure that it's the truth. That's as simple as it can get. And I'd like to tell you, I mean, we've all heard it before that friends, India and Nepal have been great friends. We don't need a passport or a visa to go back and forth into our boundaries. And these boundaries shouldn't really be mattering that much now. This is just a freaking line. We've all been great friends. You still come in our country despite it. We still go in despite it. Whatever is happening is an ideological clash, and our governments are benefiting from it. And I think that all of us should stop getting so excited at a meek border issue that may not be resolved until you're alive, or maybe not even be resolved even after you're dead or even your grandchildren. But all you can do is try spread some peace, positivity, and no fake news.
So I'm going to talk on behalf of us, Nepalese. First thing that we need to do is, I agree with you on the first one, is we should not share or publish wrong information, fake information, So we need to go back to our history, research, learn more, and then share correct information, which is only true and right. But the other thing that we need to do in this stage is, I know we've got health problems and virus and all that happening, and we're doing our part, which is great. But this is not a meek border issue for us. This is a big deal for us. So we need to voice our opinion in a right way, in a right direction. Maybe we need to contact media houses from different countries. Maybe we need to make videos about our proper research online and share that information. Maybe we need to let our Indian friends tell them, know that, okay, guys, this is happening, this is what happens, this is what happens. Because India has a big influence in Nepal, in all sides. For example, because it's a big country, right? You don't know my language, I know your language. You don't know my films, I know your films. You don't know my literature, I know your literature. You don't know my food, I know your food, right? So unknowingly, that's unintentional. You didn't want us to learn Hindi, right? But we knew it somehow. That's the power of a big country on a small country. It's not seen. So in this same situation as well, it's going to affect, which my Indian people should also realize that it will affect, and we need to, like I said before, is share proper, right, good information, so that people are aware and the government is aware. Like it push our main duty at the end of the day is to push our governments to dispute, like to settle the dispute, to solve it once and for all, and live happily like we used to before.
Fair enough.